everyone. I'm Travis.
Hi, it's Jonathan back again.
We'd love to welcome you back to the 100 Ways to Love a Cat podcast, or welcome you for the first time, either or.
This is the podcast that eventually plays the song 100 Ways of Loving a Cat. And that's true, Travis. There are people who may have never listened to one of these, and this is their first one. And I'd like to say welcome to you. Have a seat.
If you like this one, there's 6 more where this one came from.
So this is the best place to start. So maybe you're lucky if this is your first one.
And, you know, if you're not crazy about the chitter chatter, I totally understand. If you want to just hear 100 Ways to Love a Cat, the song, and that's it, you know, you can also go back and just, you know, fast forward a little bit and get straight to the song. We would hope that you, if you enjoy listening to it once at least every week, we would hope that you would come to the new latest podcast as opposed to just listening to, say, you know, episode 1 over and over and over and over again, I guess. It would be better to come back. I mean, you know, right?
Yeah,
Does that make any sense?
There's a million different ways to do it. I mean, you have 7 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just think, just brainstorming here. If you start with this one and then you go back to the first one and then you play them in order until you get to this one again, that's one way to do it.
Sure.
Then if you start with this one and then go to, say, 2 or 3, maybe where we're finding our footing a little bit.
Okay.
That's another good way.
Right,
and then
right.
maybe save one for last where you can go back and say, okay, this is the first one they ever did and here's how they came to these decisions. You could start with this one and then work your way one stop back. Like this is episode 7.
Right.
So you could do 7, 6, 5,
4, 3, 2, 1. But then we kind of get like a little more rusty around the edges as we go along. In a way, I really wish that everyone could have started, if you haven't already, started with number 1, because then you could see the growth and how things transform, how things change. Again, I'm still happy if you're here for the first time. But if you are here for the first time, I'm just throwing this out there. You listen. It's your podcast. We make them for you. You listen to them however you want. Let me make that clear.
So that's very important. We're not trying to tell anyone.
Absolutely not. So first off, but I may say recommend. Maybe you'd want to stop this one right now.
No.
Well, listen, hear me out. Go to the first one.
Okay.
And then come back around, and then here you are at number 7. See what I'm saying? So they're still going to hear it.
You'll know what's new from this episode when you get to the part where Travis says, go stop and go back. And you'll say, okay, this is where I came in. So then you'll know. Okay, that makes sense.
Does that make sense? Okay.
I guess it depends on how you use it, too. I have heard from a lot of people that they use this show to fall asleep to.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there are podcasts that are just produced to be sleep aids, like a drug.
That's, you know what? I'll take whatever we can get. If this helps, if listening to 100 Ways to Love a Cat and Jonathan and myself, if that helps you relax or wind down, fall asleep at the end of a hard day, then I'm happy to help. I'm glad that we're, offering a service.
Some people go through life and they never are of service to other human beings or animals. And some people go through life and they never help their fellow man or animals. And I don't want that to be on my tombstone. I want it to say helpful.
Of course.
And my name and the date that I was born and the date that I passed away.
Well, yeah, you always want that on there. But you offered yourself and you are helping someone. I don't know how many people right now, but hopefully down the road, several people, let's just say that. Whatever we can do, like I said, we are happy to be of service to you. You listen to this podcast however, whenever you want to.
I want people to say, hey, I want to do a podcast, but no one wants to listen to me talk, and that's what a podcast is.
Mm-hmm.
I say to you, I want you to say, I want to start a podcast, but everyone wants to listen to me talk because that's what podcasts do. Also, they're helping. You think that just droning on and on, like Travis and I sitting here just talking, people might say, oh, that's ego. Ego. People, everyone, those two gentlemen think that all people want in this world is to hear their voices go on and on. And that's not true. I think people want to hear our voices because it helps them. Not because I think we're so great.
Not because it helps us, because it helps them.
I don't want to hear the sound of my own voice. I mean, I don't mind it, but the reason I do it is to help people. People love songs about cats. People love cats. People love songs. People love songs about cats, but still a lot of people, and people like podcasts about songs about cats. And some people like to use those podcasts about songs about cats to fall asleep.
To fall asleep to. Mm-hmm. Again, some people may wake up to it every morning. You don't know.
Ooh, I haven't heard from any of those people, but I'd love to hear somebody say.
Oh, do you start your day this way? Like the alarm goes off and it plays?
Have you seen those alarms?
You could even time. We know the song lasts 35 minutes. So depending on what your morning schedule is, you could really kind of base around, well, the song's over now. I've had my toast. And I'm off to work. Or, whatever else. You have to shower and get ready and there's a lot you have to do within that 35 minutes, but when the song is, when you've heard every way or every, way to love a cat, all 100 of them, all right,
the bus is
out the door.
Be here.
Yes.
Or the car share.
Exactly.
A lot of people say, do you know those people whose job it is to make you, what's the word I'm looking for? Stop wasting your time and accomplish things.
A counselor?
Yeah. Like those people say, don't dawdle in the morning. What's important in the mornings is to get up, get going, do your calisthenics, a couple of jumping jacks, whatever. And they don't say that, but they mean get your blood pumping. So if you're spending longer than this song to get ready in the morning, I think you might be what my aunt would call a lazy bones.
Wow. Don't want anyone to be able to call a lazy bones. So
she would get my aunt who virtually raised me, like when I would see her in the summers. She said, I get up in the morning and I put on my jogging suit and I go outside and I walk around the neighborhood. And she lived in that subdivision. And she would see all her favorite dogs, and then she'd come back and she'd have half a grapefruit. She said the grapefruit helped get her metabolism going, and then she would get on with the rest of her day. But that took 20 minutes tops.
Right.
And she was very productive.
Well, some people it takes longer, some people it takes shorter. Everybody has a different routine. And if this podcast or this song or whatever part of it you like can help, we want it to. And there's probably people actually right now, Jonathan, waiting to be helped. And we got to start this song. We got to play it. Let's pitch in with society. Let's do our part. And
that's what we're here for.
Make the world
a better place.
As much as we can.
Hey, do you remember? I don't want to do one of those looks down memory lanes where people are like, "Oh, I remember the '80s," but when Michael Jackson looked at the man in the mirror, that's where you start. I mean, there are lots of great Michael Jackson songs, but I think that's the one that's zeroes in on what it means. What
we're trying to do. Definitely, out of all the songs that that is the closest.
I don't even know another one that would fit in here.
I can't think of one either.
But that's a great one. So start.
I love Thriller, though. I know it doesn't really necessarily, help.
It's not germane to our point, but it's scary.
It's just a good song. Yeah, it's scary and it's fun.
A great dance.
It's a classic. You hear it.
Probably the best dance.
Definitely.
If you think back to what are the famous dances? Well, there's the twist, the Huckleberry Twist,
mashed potato,
the Thriller. The what do you do when you rap music and you get down like a worm, like a centipede?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The flopping fish, they used to call it, but it's not. It's got another name. That was sort of derogatory. So many of them. But we should have come up with a dance for cat.
Give us a little time. How about, let's see if we can come up with one in, say, 35 minutes.
There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 1. Keep a tidy house for them. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 2. Be sure to clip their claws. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 3. Scoop their box daily. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 4. Brush them with a hairbrush. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 5. Don't squeeze their paws hard. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 6. Give them some fresh water. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 7. Let them have a fish. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 8. Buy them a scratching post. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 9. Put them in your lap. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 10. Be quiet when they're sleeping. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 11. Whisper, I love you. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 12. Rub their soft belly. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 13. Make sure their tail is clean. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 14. Give them a yarn ball. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 15. Make them a nice bed. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 16. Buy him some catnip. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 17. Play them some music. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 18. Get them a cute collar. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 19. Make sure they're vaccinated. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 20. Take their picture. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 21. Brush their teeth. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 22. Let them watch TV. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 23. Don't let them be outside by themselves. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 24. Feed them some cat food. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 25. Make sure their eyes are clean. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 26. Put a liner in their box. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 27. Give them a mat to wipe their feet on. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 28. Don't forget them on Christmas. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 29. Make sure they're spayed or neutered. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 30. Hold them like a baby. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 31. Let them have a towel or blanket. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 32. Keep your toilet lid down. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 33. Don't let them chew on power cords. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 34. Set them by the window. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 35. Cat-proof your home. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 36. Change their litter weekly. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 37. Praise them lavishly. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 38. Never feed him chicken bones. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 39. Teach them a funny trick. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 40. Give them a toy mouse. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 41. Clean up their hairballs. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 42. Keep them away from candles. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 43. Give him a separate zone. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 44. Never play with them aggressively. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 45. Increase his cuddle time. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 46. Be sure to watch his weight. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 47. If you leave, turn on the radio. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 48. Scold him firmly but with kindness. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 49. Respond when he meows. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 50. Give them a thing of cat grass. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 51. Scratch under his chin. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 52. Remind him that you love him. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 53. Give them a box to play in. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 54. If they're old, help them get down. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 55. Let them lick you with their rough tongue. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 56. Record precious memories. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 57. Dress them up in ribbons. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 58. Give them a flea treatment. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 59. Make a vet appointment. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 60. Give them a little wet food. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 61. When they scratch you, don't get angry. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Wait, 62. Give them some private time. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 63. Treat them with respect. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 64. When he grooms himself, say good job. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 65. Let them chase a laser pointer. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 66. Clean out their ears. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 67. Never smoke around them. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 68. Buy a sturdy cat carrier. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 69. Listen to them purr. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 70. Dented by temptations. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 71. Give them your full attention. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 72. Don't trap them in the laundry basket. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 73. Let them sleep in bed with you. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 74. Make sure they're not locked in the closet. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 75. Don't let them play in plastic bags. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 76. Give them a massage. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 77. touch him as you pass by. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 78. If he's on the couch, don't be mad. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 79. If they hate fans, turn the fan off. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 80. When there's a bird outside, say, hey, look! 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 81. Intrigue them with a funny sound. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 82. Don't forget sardine time. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 83. Let him play with your old socks. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 84. Stroke in the direction that his fur goes. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 85. Admire his long whiskers. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 86. Keep his box away from his food. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 87. Pretend that he's a piano. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 88. Don't interrupt them while they're eating. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 89. When they're scared, go and comfort them. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 90. Let him have a lick. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 91. If their breath stinks, give them greenies. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Way 92. Give him a ball with a bell in it. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Weigh 93. If it's hot, put ice in their bowl. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Weigh 94. Let him drink out of the sink. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Weigh 95. Don't vacuum if it scares him. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Weigh 96. Draw a picture of him. 100 loving ways. 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 There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Weigh 97. If you drop some food, it's theirs now. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Weigh 98. Read him a book. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Weigh 99. Feed him again. 100 loving ways. There are 100 ways to love a cat. 100 loving ways. Weigh 100. Just love them every day. 100 loving ways. 100 loving ways. 100 loving ways. 100 loving ways. 100 loving ways.
You know what, Jonathan? I want to say right now, I am definitely no Bob Fosse because 35 minutes have gone.
Oh,
that is not
yourself.
well. We could not come up with a dance. We tried different things. We stood here in the room to we had 35 minutes of that song to figure out a dance, and my hat goes off to Paula Abdul, Mr. Bob Fosse, Michael Kidd. Who else does dance?
Oh, I don't know that third one.
Michael Kidd? Is that? I think that's a guy from the old times.
Don't sell yourself short, Mr. Fred Astaire. That's one.
There we go. He's from old times too.
Brilliant choreographer. Travis was really getting down and really doing some.
No. I couldn't do it. No. Trying and putting all the effort in you can is
Also,
one thing, but I was not successful. There's no dance. Now, maybe next week I can try it again and I might get there, but whereas somebody who knows what they're doing, it's going to take me 3 times as long.
It's not a young person's game because we got winded after about 15 minutes. And so then we sat down and just tried to come up with some names of dances that maybe other people could come up with a routine to.
Right.
But the Whiskers was a good one that you had.
Was, well, yeah, you know.
And Scratch and Release was a funny one.
Litter.
Yep, that's a good one. That where we were doing, Travis was like, you put down, like sometimes tap dancers put down sugar on the floor or flour or sawdust or whatever.
Cat litter. Mm-hmm.
And you put down cat litter, the litter.
Which is still a good idea, but I didn't know what to do afterwards. That's just throwing cat litter on the floor.
You would just tap dance.
Well, I can't. That's something I'm not able to do.
So many great ideas. Write in and let us know. I can't tell you where exactly to write us, but if you can figure that out on a podcast, where to get in a hold of us, let us know any ideas you have for dances. I'd love to hear your dance ideas.
Well, preferably for 100 Ways to Love a Cat. But if you have something else, we'd listen to it. If you have for another song or something, that's fine, too.
So just let us know. Get in touch however you can figure out to do that.
All right. Thanks so much.
Good night.